Hello everybody, this is part 2 of my date night series, and this is a creamy seafood and prime rib risotto. And guys, I went hard on this, so I'm just showing you all the possibilities you can do for meat, but you can really do whatever you want. So right now I'm doing my usual, and I am chopping an onion. Like I said, risotto is like one of the coolest things you can make because you can literally transform it into anything you want. You can make a butternut squash one, you can make a pea risotto, a mushroom risotto, you can make it vegan, vegetarian. Like I said, you can load it with any meats you want. It's very versatile and you can do literally whatever you want with it. And after we are done chopping up our onion, we are going to go into a couple cloves of garlic. And I think I've got about 4 here, 5 here maybe. I like a lot of garlic. And you're just going to chop this up pretty finely. Next up, we are going to grate some Parmesan cheese. I love using fresh Parmesan because I just think the flavor is so much better. Even than like, you know, freshly shredded that you can buy. I just always buy the blocks and I shred it myself. And then we're going to make a compound butter for our lobster, our first protein that we're going to get started here. And I'm going to use about a half a stick. I have 2 lobster tails, so I'm going to use about a half a stick of butter. And I'm going to put that in a bowl and add some seasonings. I did salt, pepper, red pepper flakes, and I think I did a little bit of truffle powder or truffle dust. And I'm going to put a little bit of that garlic that I had chopped for the risotto. I'm just going to put a little bit of that in with the butter. Then I'm going to chop up some fresh parsley. If you've got chives, that would also be very good to add, but I just had parsley, so that is what I'm using. And I'm going to add that to my compound butter. And we will start mixing that up. I should have let the butter soften a little bit more. It was a little hard because I took it directly out of the fridge. I think I might have even nuked it to just kind of soften it, but probably not enough. Alright, then we have our 2 lobster tails. I'm going to cut a slit down the middle of both the top and the bottom of the lobster tail. And kind of pull it back to kind of loosen the flesh from the tail. Then I'm going to stuff the inside of the tops of the lobster tail with the butter, and you can go to town with this, guys. Just stuff as much as you want. And some people like bring the lobster tail out of the shell to cook it, but I like to keep it in there because I feel like it like keeps the moisture from like the butter in, and it makes it tender, and like the butter flavor just kind of incorporates a little bit more because it's cooking inside the shell. And I go ahead and do both sides. This side's kind of pointless really because when it melts it just comes right out of the shell, but I still do them. And then we have our 2 lobster tails. And you're just going to set that aside while we prepare all the other ingredients we have. So next we're going to do the scallops, and I just have 4 leftover scallops that I had in my freezer, so I thawed them out. I am going to press them to release all of the moisture, because if you have pretty wet scallops, they won't get a nice sear. So you want to try to get as much of the moisture out of them as possible. And then I am just going to season them. You can really do whatever types of seasonings you want. I did salt, pepper, and my usual of truffle dust because that stuff is amazing and I literally put it on pretty much everything. And I found my truffle dust at Kroger. It's just in the spice area, so if you guys are interested in trying to find that, it basically takes your food to that, 10 without paying, hundreds of dollars to get real truffles. And my husband doesn't like scallops, so I basically just ate the scallops for myself because scallops are probably one of my favorite seafood dishes. And then I just had a bag of already cooked shrimp in my freezer. I think I was going to use it for like fried rice and I just didn't end up getting to it. So I just have that and I'm going to add it in there. And I have some mushrooms I'm going to add because mushrooms and risotto, perfect together. And then these hunks of beef are something that I made for another date night, but the video didn't turn out too good, so I did post the instructions on my Instagram, and this is just like an herbed prime rib that I made. And this is the leftovers, so I'm just cubing them up, and I'm going to throw it in when the risotto is cooking to warm it through, and it just adds a different flavor to your risotto. And this prime rib turned out, it was a little overcooked, but other than that, it was beautiful. It was so good. And then here's just a shot of all your ingredients all laid out. We've got the onion, the Parmesan cheese. I have some parsley, which, sorry, my videoing here. And then there's the parsley. And then we have our steaks. And then this is a homemade chicken stock I made from smoked chickens that I just took out of the freezer. So it's very good. We've got the garlic, we've got our mushrooms, we've got our heavy cream. I have a piece or a thing of liquor. Any liquor will do. That's Grand Marnier because that's just all I had. But brandy's really good. And then here's all the seafood. We've got the shrimp and the scallops and the lobster. So I'm going to take my chicken stock and melt that down. And you want to just bring that to a soft boil once it's melted down and everything. And now we're going to start making our risotto. So I have about 2 tablespoons of oil down and I'm adding my onions in. And we're just going to let those sweat for a bit. And then we're adding a little bit of some garlic. And we're just going to let those marry together in the pot. I'm going to season it a little here, but honestly, risotto, you just kind of have to season as you go. So I seasoned it with a little bit of salt and pepper here. And now we are going to add our mushrooms. And that's about a half a pint. I think I used a half a pint. And next up, we're adding our arborio rice. I had about 3 cups here. And so this is when the risotto process starts. You're going to add the risotto rice and toast it. You can kind of saute it around for about, I'd say 3 to 5 minutes until you get like a little bit of a char, not a char, but a toast basically to them, since they start turning a little bit of brown. And also you can kind of tell it's ready when you start getting chunks on the bottom of your pan. And then this is when we're going to add basically our alcohol to it, and this is going to break up the bits on the bottom of the pan. And like I said, I use Grand Marnier, but I usually use brandy. I just didn't have any, but the Grand Marnier, like that citrus flavor, I think would complemented this really well. So I just added that, and now we're starting the process of the ladling in of the stock. So basically you would put your timer on for 20 minutes and you add in a ladle at a time of the chicken stock and stir it continuously until the liquid has absorbed into the rice. So basically you pour, stir for a while, pour, stir for a while, and you just keep doing that until you get like a thicker consistency to the rice. And like I said, you kind of time it for about 20 minutes because risotto will take about 20 minutes to get al dente, and then you can kind of either cook it a little longer if you like it a little bit mushier, which I do. I don't really like al dente, so I think all together mine might have taken about 25 minutes to complete. But like I said, you just keep pouring and stirring, and you really can't stay away from risotto. It's kind of a tricky thing. You really need to stick to it. You don't want it to, get too gloopy. You really have to keep stirring it, so it's kind of a tiring. I mean, you get a workout. It's a process. And you can already see it kind of thickening up. And once there's about like 15 minutes left, I added the beef in to warm that through to make sure there was plenty of time to get that completely warmed. And with about 10 minutes left, I added the lobster into the oven. I think it was set for, shoot, I don't remember what I set it for. I'll look it up and I'll put it down in the description. I think it was on, it was just on broil. It was on broil. So I broiled these for about 10 minutes. I may have taken them out a little early. So here you can see how thick that our risotto got. And this was after about, I would say, 15 minutes, almost 20 minutes. So I added one more ladle of my stock, and then I'm going to taste it to see if it's to the texture I want. And when it gets to the texture I want, that's when I add my cream. But this is completely optional. You don't have to add the cream to the risotto because it is creamy on itself, but I just like it extra creamy. So I add a little bit of cream to it to really get it to that texture and creaminess that I want in it. But like I said, this is completely optional, and it really adds a lot of fat to your meal, so you can totally skip it. And you kind of want to do the same thing. You want to keep stirring it until most of the cream is absorbed into the rice. And this is where I try it and see if that consistency is where I want. And now I'm adding the cheese. And basically, right when it's basically done, I'm going to add in the shrimp because that's already cooked, so that literally just needs to be warmed up really quickly. And since they're so small, it doesn't take very long to warm them up. So I'm going to throw in the shrimp now. And it's literally it's about ready to be served. So I'm just doing a quick warm for the shrimp and pulling out and cooking all my other toppings for it. So here is my lobster tails, all nice and finished. And that butter inside you can put on top of your risotto, and it just takes it to a whole nother level. And you want that bright red color in the lobster tails. And so now I just have a little frying pan with very hot butter, and I'm going to put those scallops on that to sear them off. Scallops cook really quickly, so it's about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes aside. And you basically just want a really nice sear on each side of the scallop. And then here I'm about to flip them, and this is probably one of the best rounds of scallops I've had. I had the temperature right, it was just perfect. That's exactly what you want a scallop to look like, is just a nice sear right on top. And we're just going to cook it for another 2 minutes, maybe a little less on the other side, and you're good to pull them off. And now it's assembly time. So we have our bowl of risotto, which has the mushrooms, the shrimp, and the prime rib already in it. Then I'm going to top it with our beautiful lobster tail. And I'm going to put 2 scallops on mine. And then I'm going to take the a little bit of extra truffle dust and salt and pepper. I'm going to, I believe, grate some Parmesan over top. And this is the, okay, and then this is the butter that I put from the lobster. Just adds a little bit of extra flavor. You don't, this is optional. And then I'm gonna add the Parmesan on top. And a little fresh parsley to garnish. And I just tear it, but you can chop it, whatever you want to do. And there you guys go. I have my daughter in here, so sorry if you can hear, but there is the risotto. As always, like this if you did, and subscribe to my channel, and I appreciate all the love and support, and we'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!